Hi guys, today we're going to be doing working with circles. So we're going to graph and write equations of circles. You may remember doing some of this in geometry. Here's the formula right up here. We've got x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. So again, a circle is just a set of points that are the same distance from the center. So that distance from the center is our radius, so that we're going to call that r. So again, r is just the distance from the center to any point on the circle. The center of our circle we're going to refer to as the ordered pair hk. I also want to point out too that h, again, just like always, is the opposite of what it's going to look like in the formula, and the value for k is going to be the opposite of what it looks like in the formula. All right, let's try a couple of these. Our first problem here shows us that we have an equation 2x squared minus 36 equals negative 2y squared. Okay, this is not in the right order, so we're going to put it into the same order that our formula is up there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add this 2y squared over to this side. So I've got 2x squared plus 2y squared, and then I'm going to subtract this 36 over to the right equals 36. So I did not show all my work right there, so hopefully that makes sense. The other thing I want to do is try to get my x squared and my y squared by themselves. So I'm going to divide everything by 2. Now, don't worry about having different values or different numbers in front of x squared and y squared, because if that does happen, then this will not be a circle. And we'll do those next time. So my simplified formula is x squared plus y squared is equal to 18. Notice, nothing is added to my x squared or my y squared, which means that my center is going to be at 0, 0. Now the radius, if you look at the formula, the radius is written as r squared right here. So this 18 is technically r squared. So we've got to do a little bit of simplifying to figure this out. So I'm going to square root both sides. I am not going to worry about a plus or minus because we can't have a negative distance. So my radius is 3 radical 2 when you type that in the calculator. Let me just show you here. So again, if we type if we type the square root of 18, I get 3 radical 2. That's not very helpful to figure out how to graph this, so make sure you hit those double arrows right here to get an approximate 4.2. So my radius is 3 radical 2, which is approximately 4.2. Now these are just sketches, they don't have to be perfect. So from the center, count over 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a little bit more. Go up 1, 2, 3, 4, a little bit more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and finally down. 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now don't laugh at me because we're going to have to try to make the best circle that we can, and sometimes it's tricky, sometimes they kind of come out looking like squished boxes, sometimes they look like eggs, so we're just going to do our best. That's not too bad. So there's a sketch of our first circle. Let's try another one. This one I've already got in a nice format here. I've already got the x squared by itself plus the y squared is equal to the r squared. So we just have to identify all the parts. So if we notice, my h and my k are right here. So it says x minus 2, but that minus is part of the formula. Whoops, that minus is part of the formula, so my center is really going to be at positive 2, positive 4. So it's always going to be the opposite of what it looks like. Plot that point, go over 2, up 4. There's my center. The radius, remember this is really r squared from the formula up here. So I'm going to say r squared is equal to 9, square root both sides. Again, we don't have to worry about the plus minus because we can't have a negative distance. So the radius is 3. So it's saying to go 3 spaces in all directions. And again, I'm just going up, down, left, right because it's not really easy to go 3 in a diagonal distance. So, and then just do your best to make a circle. And we're done. All right, let's flip-flop this. This time I'm going to give you the graph and you're going to give me the equation. So let's practice that. Write the equation of the, excuse me, write the equation of the circle. So first I need to look at this and identify the center. Now it's not marked on here, so you should be able to, look to see, here it looks like it goes all the way across right there. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 6 spaces long, which means that that's the diameter. So the radius would have to be half of that, which is going to put my center right there. So figure out what that ordered pair is. Be careful, make sure you always base it off of 0, 0. So it went left 2, so the center is at -2, and then it went up 1. So I just got that by looking at the picture. Now remember, when I drew that diameter all the way across, half of the diameter is the radius. So there's the radius right there. And you can count up, left, down, right, but the radius is 3 spaces. To write an equation from this, what we're going to do is we're going to write x minus our h value squared plus y minus our y value squared is equal to the radius squared. And now we just have to simplify that, because obviously that looks silly. You could have jumped right to x plus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared is equal to 9. There's our formula. All right, if you want to try the next one yourself, push pause, see if you can get that before I do it. I do have some points marked on here just to kind of help a little bit. Here's the center. So that center is at -1, -2, -3, up 1. Oh, hang on a second. I gotta go from 0, 0. See, look, sometimes it's easy to do that. So it still goes back 3, but it goes down 1, 2, 3, 4. -3, -4. So always count from 0, 0. Put that little x where the origin is. All right, now I gave you some points on the circle. The reason I did that is so that we could find the radius. So there's the radius. Remember, I said it's not easy to count on a diagonal. So what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to make this into, you may have done this back in geometry. In fact, I know you did back in geometry. If we make it into a right triangle, we can use Pythagorean theorem to figure this out. So this distance here is 3. This distance here is 2. So if I do a squared plus b squared is going to equal c squared, technically it's going to equal r. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 9 plus 4 is equal to c squared. 9 plus 4 is 13 is equal to c squared. And then we square root it. So my radius is radical 13. Now, I want to show you something else, because you might not always have a graph available to do something like this. So we do have a formula, which is actually the same as the Pythagorean theorem, but it's our distance formula. So the distance formula says take the square root, just like this square root here, of x minus x, x2 minus x1 squared, plus subtract your y's. So if you look, this is just our a, it's the difference in our x's. This is just our b, difference in the y's, and then squared. So if we didn't know, how to make, or if we didn't have the graph to make that into a triangle, we could just use points on the graph. So this is the point 0, -2. My center again was at -3, -4. So if I do this distance, I've got my x value, one of the x values, minus the other x value, squared, plus subtract your y values, and then just simplify this. So -3 minus 0 is -3 squared. Here, -4 plus 2 is -2 squared. Are you seeing some of these numbers kind of show back up here? -3 times -3 is 9, 2 times -2 times -2 is 4. You get the exact same radius. Obviously, this is quicker if you have a graph, but we are going to have to do this in a couple minutes, so I wanted to show that. All right, finally, to write the equation. We fill in my radius. We figured out that the radius was radical 13. If you're curious to see what that is as a decimal, it's about 3.6, which, that's, about If you count over 3, it looks like about 3.5. So it's about 3.6. To write our equation, though, what you need is you need to write x minus r h squared plus y minus r k squared equals, and I'm running out of room here, whoops, class is not over, radical 13 squared. So this is going to become x plus 3 all of it squared plus y plus 4 all of it squared is equal to 13. So there's a lot going on here, but that is the equation of that circle.